Hi, Jenny. Welcome to the Integrative Health Coach Success Podcast.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, our pleasure. I'm really excited to have you. Looking forward to our chat. It's kind of something that we've touched upon in the past, but not too much. So looking forward to you sharing your journey with our listeners. And what I would love to do to start is, can you tell us what you're currently doing with your IHP certification?
Yes. So I just launched my Go Forth Wellness program in April. And I've been in the fitness industry for more than 20 years. So I've kind of merged what I was doing with personal training and nutrition into helping people dive deeper into their health and, get to the root cause of their struggles. And so within my program, I have an app and I have a lot of options for people, to come to me and talk to me. And, the detox is part of that protocol, but teaching them how to shift their mind with their nutrition and learn how to do the right workouts, for their body and that kind of thing. So they can come to my app and get a lot of information right there.
Yeah, that's great. We've talked to so many personal trainers in the past, and obviously, that's my original background in the health and wellness space, even Dr. Cabral's, right? That's how we both started. And oftentimes it can kind of be that, you're doing all of the aesthetic stuff, you're doing all of the actual working out and all the stuff that happens in the gym. But when you have something like an IHP certification, you're able to just bring so much more to your client. And it's full picture, right? Because now it's not just a nutritionist or a health coach who doesn't have any of the exercise knowledge and whatnot. So it's really full picture.
Yeah, definitely. And I've seen such change in the way in my style as my style shifted over to that. It's really cool to see the change in all areas of someone's life, taking them through that de-stress, because so many people don't realize what stress is doing to their body. They don't realize they're stressed when they're in traffic or the little things. And so just shifting their minds first is what we start with in my program.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So we're going to definitely talk about that because I want to hear more about that. What I would love to do next is just chat a little bit about kind of how did you find IHP? What was your story from kind of personal trainer to where you're at now?
Yeah, it's a long story. So like I said, I've been in the fitness industry for more than 20 years. I started in group fitness and then went into personal training. Then I fell into martial arts and I was heavily involved in that. I taught martial arts for 6 years, got a huge title competing, and from there went to bodybuilding. So I just have this long journey of always learning and growing and pushing my body. But after I had my daughter in 2020, she just turned 3, I got extremely sick. And I struggled so much. And, I hadn't struggled like that ever before. And I get emotional talking about it because, when you've been so healthy and you've been so fit, and then all of a sudden, I had the baby and I kept thinking, well, I'm 40 having a baby, so maybe my hormones are off, those kind of things. And, I worked on trying to figure that out. I spent thousands of dollars on doctors and specialists and all kinds of things. And it was December of 2021 that I turned on a podcast and I heard Dr. Cabral, never heard of him before. I don't know how. And I told my husband that day, I said, I don't know this doctor, but I'm going to get to him. I need help and I don't know where else to go. And, this person sounds like he knows a lot about a lot of things. So, and that is how I found you. I ordered some labs, started working with you. And honestly, Julia, you were the first person that said, something's off. I hear you. This is not normal, even though, blood work's coming back okay. And other tests have come back okay. Your metal labs don't look good. There's some things that we need to address and try to figure out, and get to the bottom of it. So as I was doing the detoxes, I was starting to feel better, but I kept thinking I can't detox something. There's something in me that I cannot release. My body's trying. It was trying really hard, especially after my first 21-day detox. I saw a difference and felt a little difference, but I knew there was still something wrong. And I went to sleep one night and literally heard God tell me in my sleep, it's your implants, get them out. One thing that I hadn't thought of is I had implants for 15 years, never thought about them because I didn't think they were really, giving me any trouble. But over that course, after I had my daughter, over that 2.5 years, I had 30 plus symptoms that were so unexplainable and baffled, doctors. And so I woke up the next morning and I was like, I know what it is now. Like, that is the thing. I can't detox. Something's wrong. So long story short, I had an ultrasound. They found a silicone rupture that was not only ruptured out of the implant, but also out of the capsule. Super scary to have that in your body. And within a month, I had the surgery, had them removed. I woke up from that surgery a new person. I looked different right away. And it was like all of a sudden the world was bright again. So unexplainable, the difference. I knew I had to get them out. It was ruptured. That's definitely needed to come out. But I had no idea how sick I actually was. That there were days over that 2 years, my joints ached. I couldn't walk up the stairs. I had rashes that covered my body, the swollen stomach that looked pregnant all the time. So I had no idea that was causing so many issues. But when I woke up and had that joy again and had that energy and that passion that had been gone for 2 years, I had this need or like this want to help other people. And this past January, I signed up for my IHP certification. I'm working on level 2 right now. And it's just made a world of difference sharing my story and not to scare anyone that has implants at all, but just knowing that you can get to the root cause of what's happening in your body. You're not meant to feel sick and struggle like that. So all of that brought me here and I felt so good. I had wanted to start my own business for more than 2 years. It was kind of in the plans, but I had been so sick that I thought, how can I help someone else? How can I start a business when I don't know what's happening to me? And, I was falling into a depression because I couldn't figure it out. So when I woke up and I was like, I'm back, I was so ready to start helping other people. And, and I think that it's brought different clientele to me because I, in ways, am maybe more relatable. Before I didn't have a lot of struggles. I was always fit, always in shape. And just the fact that I've gone through so much of, what I went through the past 2.5 years, I'm able to relate, but also have answers for people. There are things that we can do. There are tests that we can run to really see what's happening, because I was eating right. I was working out when I could. And those things are great. But if you've got something that you are not addressing, whether it's stress or an illness that, you need to get to the root of, you're not going to have those results and you're not going to feel like yourself again. So that was a long story, but that is why I'm here. And that's what brought me to you guys.
Yes, no, it's a beautiful story and I appreciate you sharing it. And I would say so many guests on this episode have been past clients of mine. I never discuss whether they're going to bring that up. And many of them just kind of choose to say like, oh, and I ran some labs, but I did in fact work with them as their coach. And the fact that you brought that up allows me to kind of give my take on the whole thing, which I'm really grateful for, which is your before and after pictures are like staggering. Just a few short days after your surgery and, what you looked like a few short days before your surgery is night and day. It's incredible, right? I mean, to wake up from a complicated major surgery and feel like the world is back, right? Like in that moment, things must have been pretty imbalanced and toxic in your body leading up to that point. And it's so beautiful that you trusted your body. You trusted, the message that you got from God. All of that kind of brought you to the point that you're at now, which really was to be in full vitality and health so that you can share and help, share your message and help others. It's such a beautiful process. And most of us IHPs go through something, right? We have our story of why one day we're like, you know what, we need to do this. And we are going to share this with everybody that we can, because when you're in like the lowest of lows and you get out of it, it's pretty hard not to want to tell everybody what happened.
Right. Right. I can't help not share my story, and it's a smidget of my journey, in the health industry. But I think it's so powerful because I went through so much. And like I said, it's just helps more people, realize there is answers out there.
Yes. Yeah. And again, this is where like struggle oftentimes leads us to the most beautiful place. Like if you had just kept continuing on with, okay, so going from, martial arts to, and bodybuilding and like all of those, like you said, there may not have been this like point where you built complete relatability and vulnerability that you can kind of like share with your clients. And oftentimes that is what builds so much of that connection and passion right within you, because sometimes we don't know what we have until it's gone. And you have probably a newfound, really gratefulness, gratitude, whatever you want to call it, for full health, knowing, where you are and where you're at now. And it's, oftentimes in the struggle that we find that.
Yes, 100%. And like I said before, I feel like the first person that really heard me, and I remember crying to you on the Zoom and saying, yes, you were like, why are you crying? Are you okay? And I said, you're the first person that listened. And I think that's what people need when something's wrong. You need people to hear you and listen. And this whole experience has made me be a better listener and not have I was pretty like hardcore kind of trainer before. There's no excuses. All the things I said before becoming a mom when I worked with other moms. Would just don't eat their snacks. Just get up and, do the hard things, do the work. And, obviously I eat my words because I became a mom and I was like, oh, this is really tough. No wonder, and that made me more relatable. And then, like I said, going through this and just being able to listen to people because that's what they need. And I tell them, I may not have all the answers, but I know people that can help with this. Right now, we can order labs. I can jump on a call with the practitioner. We can go through this together and just making sure, people need that person in their corner that's going to say, yes, you shouldn't be feeling this way. There is something wrong and we're going to figure this out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's what IHP really certification does for so many practitioners. And it is why so many people are successful practitioners, because that is what people need. That is where conventional medicine falls short. Acute, aside from an acute injury or, something medically wrong, conventional medicine doesn't hear people. They don't get into, the feeling of where you want to collapse and go, oh my gosh, thank God somebody is going to help me figure this out. Right. So many people just leave medical offices and they think to themselves like, okay, they just said I was fine, but I am not fine.
Right.
Like this doesn't feel fine. And the more people that tell you you're fine, the worse you start to feel, because you start to think like, am I crazy? Is something wrong with me? What could be wrong if they can't find it? And it can be a scary and lonely place. And I can't tell you how many people do exactly what you did, which is just break down in tears, because in that moment, it's such an emotional release of finally, I might be able to get to the bottom of it. Just knowing that there might be something on the other side makes people incredibly emotional, and rightfully so, because when you live with debilitating pain and illness for so long, it's an emotional process to get through it.
Yes. And I'm so grateful, for this journey and this meeting you and Dr. Cabral and, becoming an IHP. Like I have my life back. I truly do. My kids are little, they're 3 and 5, and I can run at the park with them now without feeling like I'm going to pass out. I'm a different mom, and I look back on those 2.5 years after my daughter was born. And, so many of the issues I thought I was having, I thought was from that birth. But, I look back and I'm like, gosh, I was living in this fog and this, it was like a blur the past 2 years. So now I'm back and I'm just like embracing every moment that I have with them. And I will never take it for granted again.
Yes. Yeah. It's so beautiful. So, one little question that I have, just because I think, if there's people listening or other practitioners listening who have clients with breast plant illness, or they suspect there's breast plant illness, right? And maybe the clients don't already know. what was the biggest hang up for you as far as it sounds like once you kind of got the message and had the feeling like that was it, you were good. Was there ever a moment of like doubt or something that you had to overcome with like removing them? Was there, anything that felt like needed extra support other than just like get them out? It sounds like you're a pretty like just do it type of girl,
Yes.
but a way that practitioners could support clients maybe in this position.
Yes, 100%. So the first thing I did was you had just had your baby. So I contacted a practitioner, and I said, I'm about to enter this surgery. And I felt pre-surgery, I truly felt like I was dying. And I was so scared I wasn't going to make it through the surgery. That's how bad I felt. I told them that morning of surgery, I wrote a letter because I didn't think my body was strong enough to handle it. And I know it sounds dramatic, but it's just really how sick I was. But I met with a practitioner and I got on the right supplements to build my body up before that surgery, and things that I wasn't taking. We had a protocol following the surgery for the first 4 weeks. And then 6 weeks after, I did the functional medicine detox. And then with you recently, we moved into the heavy metal detox. So I think supporting my body played a huge role. I had a plan with my nutrition. I had a plan with my supplements, and I really felt so good. And that's not everybody's surgery. I meet with tons of women now that have gone through the process. I think building your body up before is so important. So you just have that foundation, to support everything you're going through and everything that needs to detox after that surgery. So there's definitely ways that you can improve the whole process. As far as nervous, that's what I was most nervous about with this was the surgery. And when I woke up, I was so relieved. Like, I'm back, I'm here. I feel so good. I was journaling. I was trying to work. I wanted to get up and like run around right away. Day one, I'm not joking. I felt so amazing, and at first I thought, well, I'm on medications from the surgery, so maybe I'm just feeling so good from that. But 2 days later, 3 days later, weeks later, people kept asking me, do you still feel good? And I'm like, yes. Like that fog, that tiredness, all of that is gone. And all the other symptoms too. So I never was worried about what I was going to look like necessarily. I mean, I'm a very like happy, confident person overall, but my energy trumps anything that it looks like after, and I've just embraced where I am in life and that I'm healthy, and, I can continue with my health goals and helping other people too.
Yeah. And I think when it comes to, health, vanity, right? There's sometimes we can prioritize one, right? And then we realize how important health can be. And it's a process and a journey that I think, honestly, women will walk through differently, right? There's probably 100%. No one same type of process for women who choose to get them, then have them removed or keep them, right? And some women keep them and there's never any repercussions. Right. But for some women, there are. And knowing that there's support out there and other people who have gone through it, I think is so important so that they don't feel, alone or unsupported. It's so important.
Yeah. I meet women weekly. I have someone that reaches out and, ask, are you comfortable sharing your story? Yes, I'm very comfortable sharing my story because it's such a huge part of like where I am today. But I try to help them through that. And that's something that I can do through my program is have them just come work one-on-one with me. And, we can run labs before, kind of see where they are, but we can also just dive into building their bodies up if that's a surgery that they're planning on having.
Yeah, it's great because with any surgery, right? It's important to have your body as vital as possible, but when it's going to deal with potentially detoxing something and something of that nature, it's so important to have it strong enough. So I think that's great.
Yeah,
I would love to go back to something that you mentioned at the beginning, which was kind of working on mindset. Mm-hmm. before we signed on, you were kind of just explaining the whole champion mindset and what you do with clients upon first meeting, for a consultation or when you're going to first start working with them. And would you give us a little bit of an insight as to kind of why that's your first go-to, what you kind of do with clients and why?
Yes. So I have a lot of lifestyle clients. I have a lot of people that come to me on medications, diabetes, things that they can control through changing their lifestyle through the de-stress protocol. And the first thing I talk to them about is mindset, because it's easy to jump into a program and be gung-ho and ready to go. And then 1 week happens and you start falling off the wagon, and then I don't hear from them. And so setting up their mind first, I feel like it starts with them deciding that they're going to go. I have my whole program is Go Forth Wellness. So it's about moving forward, not looking behind, not comparing yourself to other people's journeys, because like you said, everyone's journey is different. But I have kind of the 4 pillars of that mindset, that go mindset. Number 1 is just decide that where you are now is not where you want to be, and start retraining how you talk to yourself, the things that you speak, to yourself, because where those thoughts go, that's where that energy grows. Mm-hmm. So you have to have a good, positive, strong why going into anything. And I always tell people your why has to be bigger than any excuse that is going to come up. Mm-hmm. So, I know Dr. Cabral talks about the non-negotiables. Go ahead and make up your mind. What are your 3 non-negotiables every day? And you have to decide you want to go. Number 2 is give, because there might be things you need to give up, whether it's a food or a toxic relationship or something, putting down your phone, something that simple, you might have to give up in order to get to where you want to go. And then number 3, I talk about the grind, because you have to work. And that's when I say week 3, week 4, that's when you really see if somebody's mindset, had determined where they're going to go, because when it gets hard, are you still going to push through? And then number 4 is grow. And I talk about the white belt mentality, because as a 3rd degree black belt, I never lost sight of always wanting to learn more and always wanting to do more. But when I was a white belt and I started Taekwondo, I jumped in not knowing anything about martial arts. And the first week I wanted to know everything. So I bought books on the organization I was with. I learned all about Taekwondo, the belts. I memorized them. I set a date for when I want to get my black belt, day 1. And so I think if you lose sight of having a white belt mentality, then, you can get stuck just in the everyday rut of life. And, if you're always learning, you're reading more, you're learning, you're growing, you're going to continue to have success in any area of your life. So I talk one-on-one with people about those 4 things and really make sure, they're ready, because, I have been a trainer for a long time and I see people come and go, and I can typically tell within the first few conversations if this person is ready to do what they say they want to do. And sometimes it's not the right time, and that's okay. Sometimes they come back, but, going in, knowing those things, knowing that your journey is not going to be perfect. Life is going to come up. There are things that are going to come up, but you're going to decide that you're going to push through those times and you're going to continue towards those goals. So I feel like that mindset is so important with anything, even with me starting my business, I have to make up my mind, I'm going to do this. I'm going to reach out to people. I'm going to step out of my comfort zone, because if you, like I said, stay in the same place, you're never going to grow.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And I love that the mindset isn't just like, okay, let's create your mindset now. And like, okay, that's it. Like, there's flexibility and there's phases, because when anybody goes through a change, right? Things come up. Fears might surface as you're going through something, or, doubts or what have you. And kind of being able to have some sort of like this emotional roadmap, so to speak, mindset roadmap, to be able to navigate those things and have a coach, right, that's equipped to help you work through that. Because let's face it, so many people like know what to do. They know they should be eating better. They know they should be working out. They know they should be doing X, Y, and Z, but why aren't they doing it?
Right.
Because they haven't made up the mind to do it. Or like you said, their excuses are bigger than their why. And they don't have this, real reason to yet. And they're just more weakened in the mind, and they haven't made the choice to commit to it. And so oftentimes the mindset piece is one of the biggest missing links. And for, I think, some practitioners, maybe they figure that out down the line. Right. And so, but addressing it right at the beginning probably gives you a higher success rate with your clients and keeping them engaged. And it probably allows you to kind of, like you said, figure out, okay, this client might have these challenges, and, being able to tell what you're dealing with kind of right from the beginning.
Yeah, definitely. And that way I know how to support them. I, again, listen to what they're saying, listen to where they've been, their issues that they're currently having, and, working through those, but knowing how to help them, when do I need to push a little harder with this person? Because, like I said, when I first started in the fitness industry and personal training, I thought everyone wanted to be pushed as hard as I wanted to be pushed. And that's not the case. People are different. So, learning those things, just how to connect with people over the years, I feel like is really my forte, especially with like one-on-one, training or talking with someone, working with them on a weekly basis.
Yes. Yeah. We talk so much about meeting people where they're at and being able to see their unique needs, not what you need, not what that last client needs.
Not what I want for them.
Right. I was going to say what you think they need, right? There's so much beauty in being able to see the client for who they are. I'll be honest, when I knew you had implants, I could have mentioned that first meeting, something about your implants. I know implants can have a huge effect on what happens in the body. I didn't mention anything about your implants the first meeting today.
No.
I'm like, maybe I'm remembering this wrong. But I usually don't bring that stuff up right at the beginning. Some clients are ready to hear that, some aren't. And I think I always kind of see, okay, let's work on these foundations first. Let's see what we can kind of do, because maybe it's not the implants, right? But it's always about meeting the clients where they're at. And when you came to me and you said, gee, I think this is the issue, like, yeah, go for it. Like there's probably immense benefit in looking into it. And so, meeting a client where they're at in their process and being able to support their mindset and even push them just a little bit further is the value of a coach.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah. So if someone's listening and they kind of want to find out more, stay connected or whatnot, where are all of the places that you show up in the either social media space, websites, all that?
Yeah. So I am at Go Forth Wellness on all social media. So goforthwellness.com. You can connect to my app, see the programs, read more about my story. Through that, you can actually book a call with me, a 15-minute call with me, before signing up for anything. If you have questions, whether it's on implants or, losing weight or just figuring out what's going on with you, it's always good to talk to that person and also figure out what their needs are and where we need to start, building that foundation with them. So goforthwellness.com.
That's great. Thank you so much for being a guest on the Integrative Health Coach Success Podcast. This was so great to talk to you. I feel extremely fortunate that we were able to, it's crazy, right? If you think back to the first time that we ever met, whoever would have thought that I would be viewing you on a podcast, you would be entirely well, would have gone through major surgery and launched a successful business, right? Because it wasn't that long ago.
Not that long ago at all.
No, you made such pretty amazing progress in such a short amount of time. And so this was a great pleasure for me. And I appreciate you sharing everything you did.
Yes. Thank you so much for everything. And thank you so much for having me.
Our pleasure. Thanks, Jenny.
Thank you.